YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We got another Washington football team video, and in today's video, we're going to go over 5 free agent wide receivers that the Washington football team should sign, free agents that set to hit the market this upcoming free agency. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload a video about the NFL. In this case, I watched the football team. Roll the intro, baby. We are Washington. Let's get it.
We Washington, we Washington, we Washington, we Washington, man, we Washington.
Get it. So with the Washington football team, you know, with the lack of weapons we have on offense outside of Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, it is clear as day that we need another wide receiver on this roster. So with the first person on my list, probably the best wide receiver in this free agency draft class, if not him, probably the second best. First player on my list that the Washington football team should sign is none other than Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is set to hit the market this upcoming year at 25 years old, and you can clearly see if you've been watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, his role in the offense is mightily decreased, and you can see that he's kind of frustrated. He wants the ball in his hands and he's really not getting it, you know what I'm saying? And obviously that's because he has Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller. They had their offense is loaded, and although it hasn't been, you know, lived up to the height that it was supposed to live up to with Tom Brady at the helm, he's still, you know, he's still a part of that great offense, and his role has decreased. I mean, this is a guy that we're talking about in 2019 that had 2,000 receiving yards. Yes, you heard it right. He had 2,000 receiving yards, and his partner Mike Evans had 1,000 receiving yards, and that's you know, with even him missing 3 games. So obviously he didn't have 1,000 on the mark. He had more than 1,000, a little bit more. I think 1,300 to be exact, and I think Chris Godwin had like 12 or 2,000 and like 300 some yards. So he had a monster season last year, and this shows you what he can do when he's the guy, or at least the second option on the team. I'm not sure if he's even the second option on the team. I think, honestly, guys, and you can call me crazy, but I think the Buccaneers' number one option, not, you know, what the coaching staff have planned, but for Tom Brady and his number one option, I believe is Antonio Brown. You guys know how close Tom Brady and Antonio Brown is, and if you've seen, ever since they got Antonio Brown, he's been going to him as his first option more than Mike Evans and more than Chris Godwin. So although the Buccaneers, they believe that their number one option should be either Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, Tom Brady's number one option is Antonio Brown. Then after that is Mike Evans, and then third it's Chris Godwin. Although that doesn't seem like that's how their offense should be ran, that's how it's being ran with Tom Brady at the helm. So I believe if we can, you know, possibly sign Chris Godwin on a reasonable deal. Now we're gonna have to throw some money at him, and this year we have a lot of cap space. Probably can get 8 because we're gonna have to re-sign Alex Smith, or, you know, continue to pay Alex Smith, because remember it was talks that we were going to let him go after this year because, you know, he wasn't going to play. But now that he's the starting quarterback again, it's like we might have to pay him or continue that contract with Alex Smith, and I believe he has 2 or 3 years left on his deal. So that's going to eat into our cap space, possibly having to re-sign Brandon Sheriff and a couple guys that we, you know, free agents that we signed last year to this year. We're going to have to re-sign this upcoming all season. So it's going to eat up a little bit of our cap, but we still should have a ton of cap to make some moves to sign a guy like Chris Godwin. So that is the first person on my list that we need to go out and sign. Now the second person on my list is JuJu Smith-Schuster. Now I know a lot of people are going to be like, JuJu is going to get re-signed to Pittsburgh. Now, this is why I was kind of questionable about putting JuJu on my list, because I feel, especially with Pittsburgh being the only undefeated team and JuJu Smith-Schuster role slowly increasing on that offense, he just had a touchdown yesterday, I feel as though that JuJu might re-sign with Pittsburgh. I mean, he loves Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh fans love him, and he's just a cool dude, man. And I don't think that Pittsburgh is going to let him walk. Now, if they do let him walk, the Washington football team should be the first person to knock on their door. Now, just imagine JuJu Smith-Schuster and Terry McLaurin on the same field. That could be a really good, you know, duo, man, especially with Terry McLaurin have to, you know, being double teamed. That can have JuJu Smith-Schuster eat underneath. JuJu Smith-Schuster is like a good slot receiver, and he's very strong. I mean, yesterday, if you guys watched the game, he's a great blocker, and then when he gets the ball in his hands, he's very physical. He's hard to take down. So if we can get JuJu on this roster, it could really open up this offense even more. Now, JuJu JuJu Smith-Schuster isn't the most skillful wide receiver on this roster, so I don't think he should be making as much as a Chris Godwin or a Kenny Golladay, but I feel as though that he should make some good amount of money, and he should be an option that the Washington football team should be looking for. So that is another person on my list, JuJu Smith-Schuster. Now, the next person on my list is my favorite, Kenny Golladay. You guys know I love Kenny Golladay. Even before the season, I've been saying Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones is probably one of my favorite duos, the most underrated duos. I've been liking Kenny Golladay for the past 2 years, man. He's really came on as a superstar wide receiver. Although he was kind of banged up this year, hasn't been able to play, I feel as though that Kenny Golladay is going to be offered that bag this season, and whether that's from Detroit or whether that's from another team, I think Washington should be picking up the phone to call, his agent and bring him in for a signing. Now, this is probably one of the guys that I believe that's going to make the most money out of the wide receiver group this year. This is him and Chris Godwin are the two wide receivers that's probably going to make the most, or, cost the most. You know what I'm saying? So it's probably going to be a little bit of a hassle to get him in, but if you want to, throw that bag at one guy, and that one guy being Kenny Golladay, I'm fine with that. Some may say he wants to get out of Detroit. I believe that he wants to get out of Detroit and go to another team, but at the same time, you don't know that now because Detroit just fired Bob Quinn, their GM, and their head coach Matt Patricia, so they could be having a new regime, and that could slowly intrigue him into coming back to Detroit. Now, you can also say, well, is Matthew Stafford going to be there? So you could take that into consideration. Does he want to be there with a Matthew Stafford-less Detroit Lions team? Then Matthew Stafford, if he's going to come back there next year, then Matthew Stafford could do his job and probably persuade Kenny Golladay to come back. So it's a lot to play in with Kenny Golladay. We don't know if he wants to really be in Detroit. I don't think he does, but at the same time, with the new regime, he possibly could want to come back, but it's not up to him. It's up to that team to pay him that money. If they don't want to pay him that money, I know Washington will pay him that money. So Kenny Golladay is the third receiver on my list that we should sign. And rankings in order, I think it goes Kenny Golladay 1 for me, and Chris Godwin 2 is who I want the most. Now, the next receiver on my list is none other than Texans wide receiver Will Fuller. Now, Will Fuller is a good wide receiver when healthy, probably a good number one option when healthy. But the thing is about Will Fuller is that can he stay healthy? Now, this year, before we get into his suspension, he stayed relatively healthy, and he was really a good option for Deshaun Watson. Now, we have to talk about the suspension. He just got suspended for 6 games due to PED, so he will be suspended for the rest of this season and a game next year. And at first, when he first came out, he said that he trusted some doctors to give him the right, I believe, medicine or whatever, and he asked them, is it a part of NFL policy? And they told him yes, and then he took them, but then he found out later that it was, not a part of the NFL policy, so he broke the NFL protocol, and apparently he didn't know, so he said he has to do a better job at trusting doctors. Now, I believed him. But then we found out that another Texas wide receiver has been suspended, Kenny Stills, before they released him, right? Before they released him, he got, with the same thing that Will Fuller got hit with, which was PEDs. So it's like, Will Fuller, I don't know if you're telling the truth, man. At first, I thought he was telling the truth, but then after his teammate Kenny Stills, or should I say former teammate Kenny Stills, got hit with the same thing, it's a little questionable. I don't know if those PED allegations are false like he's trying to make it. I believe that he actually was taking PEDs. Now that we thought about it, and now that more people in Houston is getting cut and getting suspended too. So I don't know, man. You could tell me if I'm wrong, guys, or not. But Kenny Golladay is my favorite, and Will Fuller is a good option too. But if that PED thing is a real thing, and he can't stay off it, because I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this isn't Will Fuller's first PED suspension. I could be wrong, but if my memory serves me correct, he got suspended before for PED. So I don't know if we really want to take a risk on a guy that, one, that can't stay healthy, and two, that gets suspended from time to time. So if it's just one suspension, I will pull the trigger. But if my memory serves me correct, if he has been suspended before due to PEDs, I would not take that risk on him. But hey, at the same time, it's a risk. Like I said, you can get a healthy Will Fuller that has his head on straight, and him and Terry McLaurin will be a phenomenal duo. But you can also have to take the other risk where it's like we don't have a healthy Will Fuller, and he possibly could be getting suspended for PEDs. So that's up in the air, really. Now, The last wide receiver that I want us to take a look at on the list is Allen Robinson from the Chicago Bears. Allen Robinson is a phenomenal wide receiver. He could go anywhere and be a number one receiver as he is in Chicago. And this is probably one of my other favorites that I really want to pair up with Terry McLaurin, is because they both have the similar play style. They both are like not the tallest guys, but they'll go up and fight with the best. They both have good speed on them, good route running. Allen Robinson is just frustrated in Chicago. And he has the similarities with Terry McLaurin in play style, and he also has the similarities with the quarterback. Every week, Allen Robinson doesn't know who's going to be his quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky, Nicholas Foles, who is going to be my quarterback? And that's kind of going into his stats and his personal gain, is that he doesn't get the ball as much because he don't know who his quarterback is going to be each and every week. Similar to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin had Dwayne Haskins. He had Case Keenum. And I'm talking as far as since he came into the league. He had Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins. This year, Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen. So he doesn't, similar to Terry McLaurin, he doesn't have a steady quarterback. And if both of these guys get a steady quarterback, this could be one of the best duos in the NFL. So, with that being said, that was my quick list. Let me know what you guys think down below about who should the Washington football team sign this free agency as wide receivers. We'll do other groups going down the line, but wide receiver is the biggest group and biggest need outside of tight end and probably left tackle in our offense. If we get one of these guys, we could be deadly, man. So as always, it's been boy One Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe, host the Washington football team. I'm out. Peace.